You wouldn't be listening. WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City, a town square media station serving all of South Jersey. This is Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app. Now, live from the Matt Black Kia Studios.
What a move!
Here's Josh Hennig.
Well, Super Wildcard weekend was certainly wild, to say the least. We'll get into all that, plus the Eagles versus the Giants, round 3 tonight on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM and 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Seattle. We're going to take a look on the other side because we're going to spend most of the week explaining to you why the Eagles are going to win this game. I'm putting it out there right now. Monday, January 16th at 6:02. Happy Martin Luther King Jr. Day to all of you out there. Giant fans, enjoy it right now. You're probably going to lose a game by a touchdown on Saturday night. But I want to get into a little bit today how we got to this matchup. And we will talk with the Athletic Giants beat writer, Charlotte Carroll, coming up in less than 20 minutes from now to get into all of that. As always, you can join the conversation at 609-403-0973. You also can DM the show through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Seattle. Look, the weekend was absolutely wild, and it's everything you really want from football. You know, I've been telling you guys all year that the league is not bad, all right? I understand there are other people on radio and television who tell you the league is let down, it's mediocre, it stinks. No, there is such even football across the board. Now, yes, it is in part because offensive line play in the NFL is poor as a whole right now. I would argue that the play of NFL linemen today is worse than it's ever been. But, and I say but, we saw this weekend the real reason why there is so much parity in the NFL this year. It's because the talent gap has been closed by the greatest elixir, the greatest differentiator. Only in professional football. Football is the only sport that I saw what happened this weekend happen every single year. This doesn't happen in baseball. Sometimes it does, but very rarely it does. All right. This doesn't happen in basketball. Sometimes it works in hockey. Sometimes it doesn't. Hockey and baseball are kind of similar in the fact that when this thing happens, it can have a positive impact, but not like football, not like the NFL. And that one thing is coaching. We saw this weekend why coaching matters. You saw Kyle Shanahan and DeMeco Ryans outcoach Pete Carroll and the Seahawks. You saw Brandon Staley choke as a head football coach, and his entire coaching staff just get grinded to a halt by Doug Peterson and his adjustments in the second half of that game. You saw Mike McDaniel coach so well that he almost beat the Buffalo Bills with a backup quarterback. Now, part of that was because the Buffalo Bills defense didn't show up half the game, and Josh Allen's obviously got a turnover issue. But aside from those two things, McDaniel deserves a lot of credit for closing that gap between Buffalo and Miami. Giants, Minnesota. You saw the reason why I have never said here on 97.3 ESPN FM or the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, I have never said Kevin O'Connell should be a coach of the year candidate, and you saw exactly why. There was never a point in that game where he or his coaching staff made adjustments. Brian Daboll, Mike Kafka, Wink Martindale outcoached the entire state of Minnesota. late Saturday afternoon. And on Sunday night, John Harbaugh was a huge reason why those Ravens were in a position to win the game. Now, they couldn't win the game because there was definitely a talent discrepancy. But John Harbaugh put his team in a position to potentially go to overtime and win. Coaching matters in football more than any other sport. And the biggest reason why it matters is very simple. I don't think we as sports consumers, all right, me talking about sports on the radio, you sitting on your car listening to the radio or wherever you're listening to the show on the app, we appreciate you tuning in to 97.3 ESPN. We as sports consumers, though, put so much emphasis on coaching in other sports that we forget the reason why coaching is so important in football is because football is the ultimate team accomplishment game. Every person has to do their job in order for you to have success. And that's why coaching is more important in football than any other sport. Because in football, you have sides of the ball coaches, you have position coaches, you have an overseer of the entire infrastructure as the head coach. And a huge reason why the Giants are here today is, and same with the Jags, by the way, is because Brian Daboll with the Giants and Doug Peterson with the Jags have done an amazing job coaching up their players, helping them dig themselves out of their own misery. Look, the Giants, you could argue, were a different team when the Eagles crushed them a few weeks ago than they are today. And it's not just because they're healthier. I genuinely believe it's because I think Brian Daboll and his coaching staff have done such an amazing job of elevating these players and putting them in positions to be successful. I don't think we can underplay that. I don't think we can underestimate that. And I hate the fact that we are not giving those guys enough credit. You know, in a sport like basketball, a sport like hockey, a sport like baseball, those games are won and lost on the field, on the court, and on the ice. In football, there's so many things that go into a play call. You can watch the same play from 5 different angles of camera footage, right? You know, you can watch the all 22, the TV copy, the overhead cam. You can watch the game from multiple angles and find multiple things to pull from those games. And like I said, I don't think that's a coincidence. I don't think that what we saw this weekend was just the better team winning. Because realistically, the Vikings have more talent than the Giants on their roster. The Bills have more talent on their roster than Miami. Not a lot more talent, but they have more talent. The Bengals have more talent on their roster than the Ravens do. Coaching matters. And I don't think we always give these guys enough credit. 609-403-0973 is the text board. You also can DM the show through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. We'll break down how the Giants got here deeper in just a bit, with less than 10 minutes from now, with Charlotte Carroll. She covers the Giants for The Athletic. You also DM the show through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. GameNight being brought to you by friends over at Jenkins & Sons. One call does it all. No need to call the drain guy, the heater guy, the plumbing guy, because Jenkins Technicians got you covered. From new heating and air installation, service and maintenance, ductless air conditioning systems, water heaters, boilers, drain cleaning services, gas furnace, whatever you need taken care of, Jenkins has got you covered. Give them a call at 609-641-6440 and visit them online at jenkinsandsons.com. Over on the text board at 609-403-0973, Couple of texts coming in. Joey D from Ventnor Times. This is Josh. 3 points where I make. Number one, the offense for the Eagles has to sustain drives that end in points. They have to run the ball. Number two, in order for the Eagles to win, the Eagles even has to get off the field on third downs. Number three, you can't let Danny Dimes extend drives with his legs and get into a rhythm. The Eagles should win the game. Go Birds. That's Joey D in Ventnor. Well, let's hit on those 3 points real quick, Joey. Number one, sustaining drives is more than running the ball. It's having the threat of running the ball. I think the biggest problem for the Eagles offense without Jalen Hurts, and a little bit in the Bears game, is that teams were not respecting the Eagles running the ball. They were expecting the Eagles to throw the ball to set up the run. And I think that's always a mistake. If you're going to have sustained drives, it's not just running the ball, it's running the ball effectively. Lane Johnson, when he comes back, he is not going to be 100%. He is going to gut through that injury. What does that say about him? I'm not 100% sure. What does that mean on the field? I don't know either. But we're going to find out how effective they are in the trenches in this game. Number two, I agree. The Eagles defense does have to get off the field on 3 downs. That's 100% true. The third thing about Daniel Jones, here's the problem. I think Jones had a great game. And I'm not taking this away from him. But the Vikings arguably have one of the worst defenses in all of the postseason teams this year. It's a coin flip between them and Seattle. And I think Jones and the Giants offense took advantage of a Vikings defense that just doesn't have the personnel to handle what they were throwing at them. Now, you're right. The Eagles should win the game, but they still have to actually, as John McMullen said earlier in the sports by Mike Gill, they still have to show up. They have to show up to play the game. 609-403-0973. Anonymous texter, probably a Giants fan, chiming in and says, so coaching is the most important thing in football, ? Coaching edge clearly goes to the Giants end, yet you claim there's no way the Giants can win, ? That's from anonymous texter. Well, first of all, your point loses credibility because you're texting it anonymously. Second of all, I never said the Giants had no way they can win. That's not what I said at all. I said that I already think the Eagles are going to win for a variety of reasons. The Giants don't clearly have the coaching edge. That's farcical. Just because I think Dave Ball is a candidate for Coach of the Year doesn't mean that the entire Giants coaching staff is better than the Eagles. I think Kafka and Gannon are very equal in terms of going blow for blow because they both make mistakes as coordinators. I think Dable and Sirianni have similar roles on their teams. They're motivators, they're inspirers, they're leaders of men. If you want to say that Wink Martindale has an edge over Steichen in terms of experience, sure, that's Captain Obvious. But I think that people underrate what Steichen has done this year with Jalen Hurts and the Eagles offense. And I think Wink Martindale deserves a ton of credit. So really the only edge overtly that the Giants have in the coaching staff is their D coordinator versus the Eagles offensive coordinator in terms of age of experience and things like that. The coaching edge clearly doesn't go to the Giants. Just like you were wrong, Texture, when you claim that I said the Giants can't win. I never said the Giants can't win. But I am saying that as of right now, I don't see a path to victory for the Giants unless the Eagles shoot themselves in the foot. Now, I may be wrong. I can be convinced otherwise by the end of the week, but I'm certainly not going to be convinced by a person texting it anonymously to the station. Coming up next, we'll talk with Giants beat reporter. We'll ask her why the Giants won against the Vikings here on GameNight on 97.3 ESPN FM and 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle.
It's Philadelphia Flyers hockey tomorrow on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app with Tim Saunders and Steve Coates calling all the play-by-play action.
The Flyers score on
on the rebound. That puck comes free.
It's Flyers, Ducks tomorrow. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. It's Philadelphia Flyers hockey on the radio home of the Flyers in South Jersey. 97.3 ESPN.
May old car problems be forgot in a brand new SUV.
Stop! You can't start the new year in an old car. Looking for some holiday cash? Then don't miss Matt Platt Nissan's Holiday Vehicle Buyback. It doesn't matter what you drive. AJ, the trade man, wants to buy your vehicle today, regardless of the make, miles, condition, or situation. AJ will buy your ride for cash today. So treat yourself to a brand new Nissan Rogue. 0 down, 0 payments, 0 interest on every new Matt Platt Nissan Rogue.
It's on at Matt Platt Nissan.
Drive away with peace of mind, because only Matt Platt Nissan has a 4-day love it or leave it return policy. MattPlattNissan.com. Leave qualifications exist with approved credit. $27.78 per thousand financed on in-stock 2023 Nissan Rogues. Not all will qualify. Go to MattPlattNissan.com for complete details or call 844-917-4758. Price includes all costs to be paid by consumer except for licensing, registration, and taxes. Expires 1/31/23. It's on at Matt Platt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike. Egg Harbor Township.
It's time to roll out the red carpet for, well, new carpet. Right now at the Home Depot. Choose from hundreds of styles and colors from top brands. Plus, get free installation. So whether you want to brighten up your bedroom, add a little more cushion to your living room, or, yes, add some VIP flair to your hallway, you can get the perfect carpet to match your mood with free installation from the Home Depot. How doers get more done. Minimum purchase of $4.99. Exclusions apply. U.S. only. See store for details.
Straight Talk Wireless knows there are plenty of reasons you might need a new phone. But switching to a better wireless provider doesn't have to be one of them. Keep your own phone and save when you switch to any Straight Talk Wireless plan, like our $45 Silver Unlimited plan with unlimited high-speed data and 5 gigs of hotspot, plus nationwide 5G. Keep your own phone. Switch to a better wireless plan. Straight Talk Wireless. No contract, no compromise. Requires a compatible unlocked phone and KYOP kit. 5G capable device required. Actual availability, coverage, and speed may vary. See latest terms and conditions at straighttalk.com.
At my age, I never dreamed I'd be dealing with opioid addiction.
I was pregnant and I couldn't stop.
Getting sidelined by an injury was bad, but the cravings were way worse.
Then I heard about 844-REACH-NJ.
They connected me to treatment and I had a healthy baby.
844-REACH-NJ was the call that made the difference.
Thank goodness I made the call.
So glad I made the call for both of us.
REACH-NJ. If you or someone you love is struggling with addiction, call 844-REACH-NJ from the New Jersey Department of Human Services.
Getting your guaranteed maximum refund with TaxSlayer feels like discovering a refund tree has grown in your backyard.
I'm the refund tree.
Sawing off its branches.
Hey.
Feeding them through a wood chipper.
My branches! My beautiful branches!
And dancing in its refund rain. Start for free and get your guaranteed maximum refund. TaxSlayer. File fearlessly.
As a Walgreens pharmacist, I talk with people all the time about little tips and tricks for filling their Medicare prescriptions, like taking advantage of Walgreens 90-day refills to save them a trip, or using Refill by Scan, which is super easy and right on your phone. And for anybody worried about prescription costs, I say, hey, we got you, with low-cost copays on many medications.
Let's talk about making things easier. Walgreens is here. Fill your way and save at walgreens.com/Medicare. See pharmacists for restrictions and exclusions.
Listen up, South Jersey football fans. Are you interested in solar? Want a free roof? EMT Solar and Roofing has you covered. Visit ESPNsolar.com to see if your home qualifies for a free roof with solar installation. Don't wait, act now. Start saving thousands and virtually extinguish your electric bill. ESPNsolar.com is the place to go for your roofing or solar needs. No commitments, no hidden fees. Go to ESPNsolar.com to see if you qualify.
You're listening to Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
By the way, shout out to Tom and Margate. He also hates anonymous people who message the show. I'm just saying, if you're going to come at me as a blind person, for me, I can't see you. I don't know who you are. It's like the Twitter trolls. Like, how do we take people seriously if they don't have a legitimate picture up of themselves? I always tell people, if you spend all your time answering Twitter trolls, you're going to lose your life. Like, why don't you go out to like a brewery or a winery or something? Like, go enjoy your life. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a curmudgeon or something. Anyway, Giants won yesterday. We got to talk about why, because there are a lot of people, national media, local media, that are picking these guys to win that game. Well, again, the full detail of it, she covers the Giants for The Athletic. She is Charlotte Carroll, and she joins us now here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Charlotte, welcome in. How you doing today?
Good. I'm a little tired, but I'm doing good. Alive in the playoffs with the Giants, so the hard work keeps going on. So
the hard work does keep going.
Thanks for having me on.
I appreciate you jumping on. So I was reading your article earlier today in The Athletic, and I love how you kind of centered it around Daniel Jones, because one of the big criticisms coming into this year was, hey, could Dable turn Jones around? And I think one of the things that doesn't get talked about enough is the job that Dable did with Josh Allen. It's almost like Daniel Jones has become like part two of that work, and add in the fact that they have Mike Kafka on this coaching staff.
Yeah, no, the coaching staff, what they've been able to do with Daniel Jones has been so impressive. I mean, you mentioned Josh Allen, and then with Mike Kafka coming from Kansas City, he was the one kind of mentoring Patrick Mahomes. So you have two guys who've really been dialed in on some of the league's best quarterbacks. And it's resulted in, you see shifts in Daniel's game, and the coaching staff has been able to unlock those bits and to put them in the playoffs for the first time since 2016 and get a playoff win in a performance where he just looked utterly composed.
What is, in your eyes, the biggest difference between the Daniel Jones of the previous coaching staff with Joe Judge and the Daniel Jones now? Like, is there something visible? Is there something that you've observed? Like, for you, in your eyes, what is it?
I should give you a little background. This is actually my first year on the beat. So this is the first time I've watched a full season of Daniel Jones. But I think that alone, too, it's his first time in a while playing a full season. He's been healthy. He's been able to play the entire season, save being rested week 18 against the Eagles, actually. And that was a big goal of his offseason work, is to be able to kind of play at a really high level throughout the entire season, and to be able to function in the short and intermediate game as well was kind of what he pinpointed. But then you're also seeing his scrambling. He's had the most rushing yards of his career this season. So the coaching staff has really kind of made that a priority, and you can see in his decision making just how comfortable he looks in the pocket, whether that's throwing the ball or kind of going off on the run, or even going off on the run and throwing it.
Charlotte, how surprised or not surprised are you with all the compliments that Daniel Jones got after the game? Because it seems like these players, we talk about here in Philadelphia, how the players are bought into Jalen Hurts. Like, these guys love this guy. It seems like the Giants players similarly love Daniel Jones.
I've only been in the locker room this season, but I haven't heard a bad thing about Daniel. They really respect his work ethic. Saquon Barkley had a good quote after the Colts win, just about, I mean, he's the first guy, like, it's the first car you see in the parking lot is Daniel Jones's car. And I think that speaks volumes about he's setting the tone. He's going to put his work on the line. He's going to show up, and you can't fault a guy. You might not have the success, but he's putting it all out on the line. I mean, you see that not only with his work ethic behind the scenes, but then also the man's putting his body on the line, taking hit after hit as he scrambles. So they really respect a guy like that. And he kind of, as I alluded to, some of the players have said, like, I mean, he doesn't talk a lot, but when he does, they listen, just because that's how important what he is, what he has to say.
We know that a few weeks ago, the Giants played the Vikings very close. They only lost in that super long field goal. I believe it was, 61 yards in that game. So was there any carryover from that Giants close game with the Vikings to this win yesterday?
Definitely. I mean, the Giants players after that, you could feel just how close it was to winning. I mean, it was the difference of a field goal. Last second, they had that kind of locked up, almost marching to overtime, and then that just kind of happened. They had made mistakes. There was a fumble. There was a Daniel Jones interception, his only one in the final 6 regular season games. And they just knew if they could, like, kind of shore up those mistakes, that this was a winnable game. And there was confidence coming off that dominating Colts performance. There was confidence in the backups, again, who played the Eagles in their regular season finale. And this team just looked so composed. They come out, Daniel leads that first quarter drive after the Vikings go up and just silences the crowd with that Saquon Barkley touchdown. And they just were feeling it, that energy.
A lot of people this morning on the national media were talking about what do the Giants do now, because they got Jones and Barkley being free agents. But I got to ask you, like, I feel like this is not that hard of a decision, because if the Giants want to keep them and they both want to be there, I mean, if you go by what Saquon said, it sounds like Saquon is bought into Jones and Jones into Barkley. It feels like this is a tandem more so than two guys fighting for the same pot of gold.
Yeah, it does feel at this point, based on how the season's gone, that they both want to be there, that it seems like it's going to happen that way. I have no insider information on that yet. But just the way Jones has played, he's kind of proved his worth and being brought back, and the same with Barkley too. What that actually looks like figure-wise is another story, but you can just tell. I mean, Saquon's talked about how important it is to be here for his career, and Daniel, while he's not always very vocal and very emotional, you could just see he looks happy, and with his teammates, and that relationship that he's started to build with Brian Daboll is really important.
We're talking with Charlotte Carroll. She covers the Giants for The Athletic. You can follow her on Twitter at Charlotte CRRLL. I just spelled it out for the folks out there. People might be a little confused.
Had to get rid of the vowels. There was already a Charlotte Carroll on Twitter, unfortunately. By the time I made one.
Yeah. Well, that's the problem with Twitter. If you didn't get in 2009, you're going to lose your name, basically. That's
pretty much, yeah. I was a later case. I was a little young in 2009 to be on Twitter.
Gotcha.
I don't know if that makes you feel good or not, but
I will plead the fifth on that one. Charlotte, I want to ask you, because one of the other part of the conversation is the coaching staff, and I said before you came on that to me, the biggest common denominator of the weekend was coaching matters in the NFL. And I've said all year that Brian Daboll should be a candidate, if not the winner of Coach of the Year. To me, it's between Doug Peterson or Brian Daboll. To me, those are the two guys. And I felt like we saw that the Giants coaching staff, Daboll, Martindale, Kafka, it just felt like they all out-coached Minnesota yesterday.
Definitely. I mean, Brian Daboll, head of the Dragon, was making those decisions, whatever needed to be done. And you could tell, I mean, from the moment the season started, when Daboll went for that 2-point conversion in the opener against Tennessee, that he was going to be aggressive. His team loved it. They really responded to it, set the tone for his career in New York. And while he didn't always go back to that throughout the regular season, he was that way again on yesterday. He went for 2 critical 4th and 1 situations. They were able to get those with QB sneaks, kind of advance the ball. And that really, I mean, those were aggressive decisions, right decisions. And he made those. You could fault, he had I'm trying to remember the play off the top of my head, instead of declining a penalty or whatever he did in the, I think it was the 3rd quarter, that kind of, you could almost take a little heat for that, but he more than made up for it. And he had his reasoning for that as well. But no, he's set the tone. The players really enjoy that. And what he's done too with the personnel that's available has just been so impressive. I mean, the Giants receiving core alone, if we just look at that position group, has gone through so much rotation. They have Isaiah Hodgins, who's been a superstar, was brought in during the bye week in week 9. So that just says what this group has been able to do and what they've been able to do with these players.
Can you tell the story of Hodgins a little bit? Because I think a lot of people, they kind of know about the story about him being in Buffalo and coming to New York, but can you give the folks out there the full explanation of how he went from being a nobody to a somebody, basically?
Yeah, I mean, he joined the right team at the right time, basically. The Giants receiving group was Sterling Shepard went down with an ACL injury, ACL tear. Rookie Wan'Dale Robinson then exited with a ACL tear. And then you've got Kadarius Toney being dealt to the Chiefs. You've got someone like Kenny Golladay not really performing to the level of his $72 million contract. So it's left a lot of holes in that group. And that's been one of the criticisms of Daniel Jones, or one of the kind of ways to offer a little leeway, is just he's never had that Justin Jefferson type receiver to go to, which has kind of hindered the passing game a little bit. But Isaiah Hodgins comes in. He's got a little bit of trust because he came from Buffalo, where Brian Daboll was. So he's got that relationship, starts working on the trust with Daniel Jones, builds that, and he's just become one of Daniel's most consistent targets. I don't know the figure off the top of my head. It feels like he's had a touchdown, I think, the last, 5 games? I would need to look at the stat sheet and what he's been able to do. But Daniel's just been able to constantly find him, and he kind of was talking smack with Patrick Peterson, the Vikings quarterback, in their first match. And then he had the last word yesterday.
A lot of Eagle fans right now, they're listening to us talk this conversation because we have Giant fans in our area too. It's South Jersey, but we also have Eagle fans. Okay. They're everywhere, right? And you know what Eagle fans are saying? Well, we beat this team the first time we played them. When everybody was out there, we beat them. To me, the biggest difference, now you can correct me if I'm wrong because you're right there with the team. To me, the big difference through the first time that they played back in, what was it, December 11th, and when they play this Saturday is health. To me, that's the biggest difference. Is there another difference in you watching this team week in and week out between that 48-22 loss back in December and when they play this Saturday night?
That's a good question. I think it kind of ties into health a little bit in that Saquon Barkley was kind of, I don't want to say on a pitch count in that last matchup, but he was dealing with a neck injury and he played limited. I mean, all the starters kind of did at a certain point in the game, but this offense has really kind of found a way to use Saquon in a way that is like really impressive. And it's Saquon being Saquon, but they're not totally reliant on him anymore, but like how they were in the early part of the season. So I think that kind of is it, but I think health is probably the biggest factor. I mean, Saquon being as good as he can. And then you've got Adoree Jackson and Xavier McKinney back for this matchup, which is crucial for the secondary.
Being crucial for the secondary, Wink Martindale is getting a lot of credit today for making adjustments. For, the joke has been today that he Jonathan Gannoned the defense yesterday, that he got away from the heavy blitzing and went a little bit more confusing zones on the Vikings. What is your perspective on the Giants defense? Because you mentioned Jackson and McKinney being out there. You could argue they both have had a major impact in recent weeks.
Yeah, no, I'm glad I don't have to be out there on the opposing side trying to scheme against Wink. You never know what he's going to pull out of his hat. It's just so impressive to watch. And as someone, this is my first year covering the NFL regularly, just didn't realize to the extent that Wink was running this crazy stuff. It's really impressive. I mean, it all starts up front with having such a crucial front four as Dexter Lawrence, who's a monster, had a record day yesterday. Leonard Williams, Kayvon Thibodeau, and Azeez Ojulari if he's able to play. So I think having that core front really allows the rest of the defense to really function and Wink to be able to kind of use all his pieces in tandem.
Is that the biggest advantage in your mind? If there is a big advantage that the Giants have, is Wink Martindale is going to be the most experienced coach on the field on Saturday night. Pretty much, aside from Jeff Stoutland on the Eagles, who's basically older than you, me, and half the audience combined.
That's a good advantage. I think from a mentality standpoint, this Giants team is just like, they've been underdogs all season. They're loving it. They've got a real confidence about them. And you could see that after the Colts win. You could see it after the Eagles win when they kept the starters on the field into the fourth quarter. I think the confidence is there. They're hungry. But yeah, that experience, and not of just Wink, but of Dable coming from the Belichick tree, the Nick Saban tree. You've got Mike Kafka from Andy Reid side of things. I think the experience is there on the coaching side, and it's all a bunch of different perspectives. Dan Duggan, my co-beat writer for The Athletic, had a really interesting story about how that was intentional. And Dable was very cognizant of trying to reach out and get different perspectives.
What does it say to you? The news came out today that Kafka's not going to interview for that job this week, that this organization is so hyper focused on the next game that, Kafka could do the interview. It's not always going to be the end of the world, right? But it almost feels like that, wow, like this guy is literally saying, you know what, my job is here. This is my job right now. I'll let the other stuff handle itself later.
If you're a Giants fan, you have to love that for the dedication of the team. And I think if you're a player too, you have to love that. Not sure how much players are really tuned into that kind of stuff, but like the priority is the Eagles matchup. And that's, Dable has been so focused and honed in on that, like not getting distracted. We were asking him questions if he was going to play the starters after the Colts game. And he's like, oh, we're dialed in. It's a normal week. He is so focused on being consistent, so focused on just kind of taking it day by day. And so that's having Kafka and Martindale, who I think was also with the Colts head coaching interview request, having them both be dialed in is big, not only for happy fans, but the players within the organization.
Listen, I've watched enough episodes of Hard Knocks to know the players care about this coaching stuff. Like I've seen enough weird confrontations between player and coach. Like I always bring up all the time. So if you watch the Hard Knocks from a couple of years ago with the Cowboys, Mike McCarthy's trying to talk to Dak in the practice, and Dak is completely ignoring him. Kellen Moore walks over. Dak turns away from McCarthy. They're talking to Kellen Moore. And this is live on camera, like on Hard Knocks. And I'm just like, I can't be the only one who saw this, right? You know, it's like, so I feel like the player coach thing is definitely something important there.
Yeah, no, I think the respect is there, and that will say a lot to this team about what the focus is and what the coaching staff's priorities is too, which is their players.
Going into this Eagles game, what do the Giants have to do to beat Philadelphia?
That's a good question. My brain is still kind of on Vikings, so I haven't tuned it enough yet to the Eagles matchup, but just going off of the last matchups, I think it's limiting Hurts. I'm not quite sure yet how much Hurts, like his health. Maybe you probably have a better answer for that than I do. Like I know he's practicing last week. If he's playing kind of the way he played in the last meeting in Week 18, I think the Giants defense could have a day, especially with a guy like Dex out there. So I think it's limiting that and also making sure that Daniel Jones is protected. I think they had, 7 sacks in that first matchup, or Daniel Jones was sacked 7 times, excuse me, or there was 7 total sacks combined. So that pressure and that protection from those Eagles pass rushers is going to be key, and the protection from the offensive line.
You mentioned that Louis Riddick said earlier today on SportsCenter that the key to the Giants is going to be winning in the trenches, because if they don't, they're going to get destroyed in this game. And, you know, Daniel Jones, he's been sacked 44 times this year. So, you know, how important is that offensive line, not just protecting Jones, but just executing? Because realistically, you know, I feel like when I'm watching the Vikings game yesterday, it felt like the Vikings rarely got pressure on Jones. And no offense to the Vikings, they have inferior talent on defense compared to Philadelphia.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was an impressive display by the Giants offensive line yesterday. It was one of their better ones, I think, of the season, and just giving Daniel the room to operate. So I think that'll be key. And I don't know, there's been rotation in the left guard, so I'm curious if Brian Daboll's going to keep that up, if they're going to just go with that the rest of the year, if they'll stick with Nick Gates as a starter. I think that is something to monitor. It has been just kind of interesting to watch that kind of switching Nick and Bredesen out. So that could be interesting, especially in a game like this where the pressure is huge.
We're talking with Charlotte Carroll from The Athletic. 2 more before I let you go. Neither one of them are Giant questions, okay? Number one, I want to know, as someone who's covered the Giants all year, when you're watching the Cowboys and Bucks play tonight, is there a part of you that's looking at it as you want somebody to win? You don't care who wins. You just want to watch a football game and decompress. Like how are you looking at this Monday Night Football game tonight?
I am going to take the Brian Daboll approach in that we are just focused on the next matchup. I do. No, I am impartial at that point. My brain, I am not operating like I don't have a scout team working for me on that matchup. I'm just focused on the Eagles. I don't even know. I would have to look up because I think they could play the NFC Championship game would be in MetLife, right? With the way the stand-ins are. Am I crazy? I think I saw that somewhere. I would have to look that up. So maybe I shouldn't be saying that on the record. So it's not even a question of warm weather going to Tampa from that side of things. But no, I'm more focused on the Eagles. I'm just hoping we all get a good football game.
And my final one for you is, as someone who has 2 first names, how's life for you?
Life is great. I am a rookie NFL reporter going to the playoffs and the divisional round, so I cannot complain.
Because I don't have 2 first names. I have a normal first name and a non-normal last name. So, you know, I don't know what life is like to be able to be called 2 different names, and you have to turn around for both of them.
I do. I mean, I respond to Carol, obviously. It always feels weird when I'm called Carol. It feels, it just doesn't feel right as my, as a first name option. And it's not like I'm called Carol, like people go by their last names like Dable or Kavka. I go by Charlotte or Char to friends. So if people call me Carol, it's a little weird, but no, it's just it's the name of the game. And that does spur confusion, but you just go along with it and life is good.
There you go. Charlotte Carroll, she covers the Giants for The Athletic. Go check out her latest article about Daniel Jones and the Giants win over at The Athletic, which I am a subscriber of, and so should you. And you can follow her on Twitter at Charlotte, CRRLL, over there on the Twitter sphere. Charlotte, appreciate you jumping on today.
Thank you so much for having me on. Enjoy the game tonight, and everyone enjoy the game this weekend.
Of course, you can hear the game tonight on 97.3 ESPN. Coverage begins at 7:30 p.m. tonight. And, of course, Eagles-Giants coverage begins at 7 p.m. on Saturday night right here on your home for Eagles, Sixers, and Flyers, 97.3 ESPN. And all of your news and notes and everything you need over the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank and CIL. More of your thoughts, comments, texts, and messages on the other side as we wrap up a Monday Power Hour edition of Game Night on 97.3 ESPN.
This is the radio home for Eagles playoff football, with the Eagles hosting the New York Giants Saturday night.
Hurts back again. He's floating it for Devontae Smith, who makes the catch. The Giants miss, and he walks into the end zone.
Pre-game coverage starts at 7 p.m. with Merrill Reese and Mike Quick calling all the action starting at 8:15. This is where the Philadelphia Eagles play, exclusively on 97.3 ESPN, South Jersey's home of Eagles playoff football.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's official. Fast just got a whole lot faster. Xfinity has the fastest internet with up to 6 gig speed. You heard that right. Xfinity just increased internet speeds again. And Xfinity Mobile gives you can't catch me speeds. Plus, get the best price for 2 lines of unlimited, saving you 45% over Verizon. The fastest internet, the fastest mobile service, and major savings? Can't argue with the facts. Learn more, or now through March 21st, get started for $30 a month when you add Xfinity Mobile for 2 full years with no annual contract. Go to Xfinity.com/faster, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit a store today. Requires paperless billing and auto pay with stored bank account. Restrictions apply. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra. Xfinity Internet required. Compares 2 Xfinity Mobile Unlimited intro lines and 2 Verizon 5G Welcome Unlimited lines. Reduced speeds after 20 gigabytes of usage. After promo, regular internet rates apply. Data thresholds and actual speeds may vary.
What's for dinner? Burgers?
After last week, no thanks.
Avoiding foods due to fear of diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools? It may not be just stomach issues. It could be EPI, or exocrine pancreatic insufficiency. EPI can cause uncomfortable symptoms because it's a condition where the pancreas doesn't release enough digestive enzymes to break down food. But EPI can be managed. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor about your symptoms. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
They say they'll get your biggest tax refund. Jackson Hewitt says your biggest tax refund guaranteed, and a chance to double your tax refund. Thousands in weekly prizes during the Double Your Refund sweepstakes. Your biggest refund times 2, twice the money, so forget about them. File your taxes on the double at Jackson Hewitt today. No purchase necessary to enter or win. Open to U.S. residents 18 or older who file a 2022 federal tax return. Promotion ends 4/2/23. Visit jacksonhewitt.com for rules.
I never write reviews, but Navage is so amazing, I had to leave one. Nothing's ever cleared out my sinuses as well. I'm blown away by how Navage works. That's a review from Carrie, and it's one of over 100,000 online testimonials praising Navage. I'm Martin Hoke, the inventor of Navage Nasal Care, and I've talked about flushing out allergens, viruses, mucus, and germs. How Navage's powered suction can help you breathe better, and how your nose is the body's air filter, and Navage will clean it out. But don't take my word for it. What do people like Chad say, who wrote, Navage has helped clear out my nasal passages every single night. My wife says my snoring has gone way down. Snorefest be gone, unquote. Navage is the all-natural solution trusted by over 3 million customers to help you breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier without drugs. Navage is available at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Target, and online. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E. Clean nose, healthy life.
At Ocean First Bank, our first thought is you. We put you first in all we do. Community banking for a century. We treat you like your family. Whatever you need, whatever you dream. let's make it a reality. Ocean First Bank, putting you first.
Ring in the new year with a CD rate that, well, rates. For a limited time, lock in a 13-month term for 4.25% APY with as little as $10,000. Don't delay. Visit oceanfirst.com for complete details.
Whatever you need, whatever you dream, let's make it a reality. Ocean First Bank, putting you first.
Certain rules and restrictions apply. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Opportunity Lender.
Have you ever noticed that when the afternoon light hits your floors, you can see everything, including dust?
So much dust.
And that floor dust gets kicked up into the air, compromising the quality of air you and your family breathe.
Eesh.
Swiffer Heavy Duty Sweeper is the fast and easy way to clean your floors with ultra-thick pads that trap and lock dust before it gets in the air. Just a couple minutes a day.
And dust is gone.
Swiffer Heavy Duty Sweeper. Proud partner of the American Lung Association.
By now, you know that sound. It's the sound of the Home Depot. But what about those sounds? Those are the sounds of an LG wash tower with ultra-large capacity, serving up a powerful yet gentle clean in just 29 minutes. Making this the sound of savings on the best appliance brands. The Home Depot. How doers get more done. Get up to 25% off the LG wash tower with ultra-large capacity and reduced wash time. Pricing valid January 5th through January 25th, 2023. Gas dryer extra. U.S. only. See store or online for details.
Kendall Auto Plaza has the area's largest selection of pre-owned vehicles of all makes and models. With over 80 pre-owned vehicles on their huge 100-acre lot. Everything from sporty coupes to SUVs to trucks. Kendall offers the area's best buying experience, easy and hassle-free, with 60 years of customer satisfaction and community service. Discover why Kendall customers are so loyal. Shop for your next pre-owned vehicle at Kendall Auto Plaza, exit 10 of the Parkway on Stone Harbor Boulevard, or at KendallAutoplaza.com.
Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Game Night being brought to you by Jenkins. One call does it all. Listen, be like 97.3 ESPN. We need to make our studio comfortable. That's who we called, and so should you. Jenkins is a name you can trust for years and years. So when you need heating and air installation, ductless air conditioning systems, service and maintenance, water heaters, boilers, gas furnaces, leaks, whatever you need done, Jenkins is the one you call. 609-641-6262. Online at jenkinsandsons.com. I'll get you my thoughts on the game tonight in just a bit. A couple more thoughts, though, on the weekend as well. You can join the conversation, 609-403-0973. Tom from Margate chimed in. He asks me, Josh, my Villanova Wildcats got back to 500 by beating a bad Georgetown team today. Does Dallas win tonight? That's from Tom in Margate. Tom, here's the deal. I'm officially not picking the Cowboys. And I think the biggest reason I'm not picking the Cowboys is frankly the reason that I don't know why I'm the only person who remembers this. You know, this was a huge part of our conversation going in to the Eagles-Cowboys game on Christmas Eve, which was the numerous injuries on the Cowboys. I feel like the injuries on the Cowboys are more of a detriment than the injuries on the other side of the field for the Buccaneers. Because the Buccaneers' injuries are not players who can make or break the game outside of, you know, one guy maybe, right? But for the Cowboys, I don't think we realized that they're without two corners. One of them is one of their main stars, Jordan Lewis, and the other one is a slot corner, Brown. And I feel like no one's talking about the fact that without those two guys out there, the Cowboys defense is not the same defense. And for me, I just don't understand why that's not being talked about. Now, look, if the Cowboys win, obviously the no cornerback thing was not an issue. But to me, you got Mike Evans and Chris Godwin on the other side of the field, and there's only one high-level NFL corner for the Cowboys playing, and that's Trayvon Diggs, and he's flawed. He's not the best cornerback in the NFL. He's phenomenally talented, but he makes some wrong calls at times with trying to go for balls, trying to beat opponents to the shot. So to me, I think the Cowboys secondary is a huge, huge negative for them right now. And I think that that's where the Bucs can take advantage of them. And I think the Bucs win this game. You know, if I'm going to pull up right now the latest number, I mean, last thing I saw, it's been pretty much 2.5 or 3 almost everywhere for this game tonight. Yeah, I see 3, 3, 2.5, 2.5, 3, 2.5. I think the Cowboys are getting way too much credit. I think Tampa's getting way too little respect. I think Tampa has a better home field advantage than the Cowboys have in Dallas. I think the fans are going to show up tonight. I think the Buccaneers win the game. And I like that number. It's I see plus 125, 126. Look, I told you guys to run with the Jags on Saturday night. You know, we went 2-0 on the picks on Saturday. We went 0 for 2 on the picks on Sunday. Well, actually, I got to double check that. Give me 1 sec here. Because I saw a little information earlier, and I forgot to check it, and I probably should check it right now before I ding myself a point. Okay. Yeah, so we missed that one. The over-under on the Bengals-Ravens game, I mean, talk about going over by 1 point. That's just ridiculous. But, look, tonight, I think that this is a Bucs game to lose. I don't think this is Dallas's game to lose. I think Tom Brady is on a mission. And I think Tom wants to prove that he's still got it. He led the NFL in completions. He led the NFL in fewest sacks per snap, according to Pro Football Reference. I think Brady is going to go out there and give the Cowboys everything they can handle. Now, the key for the Cowboys to win this game is they got to get it in Brady's face. They got to bring the pressure up the middle. I don't know if Jonathan Hankins returning for this game tonight is enough to make that happen. I feel like Hankins returning is nice. It's good. But I think Hankins is more of a guy that helps plug up the middle with a run. And we know the Bucs don't run the ball much anyway. So if Brady goes out there and throws 40 times and goes 25 for 40, the Bucs probably won the game. Also over the weekend, a couple other things. You know, I think that the fact the Chargers are keeping Brandon Staley is a massive mistake. You know, the NFL has plenty of good coaches out there. And to me, what Brandon Staley did on Saturday night, letting his team choke away a 27-0 lead, is purely grounds for dismissal. And the fact that the Chargers are keeping him just shows you how dysfunctional that organization is. That organization is completely and utterly pathetic. The Chargers should be ashamed of themselves. They should be ashamed of themselves. They have a head coach who's incompetent to finish a game. They should be ashamed of themselves that they have a training staff that can't keep anybody healthy. They should be ashamed of themselves that this is now not 1, not 2, but 3 elite level caliber quarterbacks they have had, and they are ruining all of them because the Spanos are idiots running this team. If this was happening in Philadelphia, people would be calling every radio show and texting every radio show demanding the head coach be fired, demanding the owner sell the team. But because it's the Los Angeles Chargers and nobody cares about them, well, that's everything you need to know. Thanks again to Charlotte Carroll for joining us, giving an inside look on the Giants earlier in the show. I'm Josh Hennig. This is Game Night. Bucs Cowboys coverage is 7:30 tonight on 97.3 ESPN.
It's Sixers basketball tomorrow on 97.3 ESPN. the exciting play-by-play action.
Here's a drive by Maxey. Good straight line move down the right side of the lane. Underhand scoop.
It's Sixers Clippers tomorrow. Coverage begins at 10 p.m. Philadelphia 76ers basketball on your radio home of the Sixers in South Jersey. 97.3 ESPN.